Oh, lovely. Another long clip. My throat is already stinging a bit just looking at the sheer amount of footage here. Hopefully, I'll be able to find some spots to fast forward to lessen the burden by at least a little bit. Right. Shouldn't have turned off the X-ray visor there. Just why did I do that anyway? It's clearly going to be a major thing to use from this point on, and at least it isn't going to be as annoying to me as the motion control gimmicks. Right. Too much to hope that we gain some health before we get to the next objective point. Still, we've got a large stockpile of health left, so we shouldn't be in all that much danger. Especially since I assume our new beam hits our regular enemies harder than the plasma beam did somehow. I can't help feeling they should have gotten a better name for this than Nova Beam, however. Granted, the Spacer Beam wasn't very intuitive what it did either, but the Nova really doesn't make me imagine anything other than just another heat-based gun like the Plasma Beam. Should I even bother asking how that managed to unjam that drill? Or should I just mindlessly go down the hole and reach the next major point? It took a bit more effort than it should have to scan those things, but at least it wasn't as troublesome as scanning the suicide bats earlier on. Still, I should not have had that kind of trouble scanning things in this game. It should have been one of the easiest things to do, especially since there are so many things to scan in it, and scanning a certain percentage of things helps you unlock more for the ending. I don't think I got any especially special endings in any of the other Metroids, 2D or 3D. Still, it's one of the defining aspects of the series, and with the sheer amount we've scanned and grabbed in this game, I'm pretty sure we're in for a special type of ending when we're done with this one. Though I have absolutely no idea how quickly we're going to be able to get through the approximate 2 hours of footage that are to come once this clip is done. I'm just glad we're getting closer and closer to the ending. There are not that many bits of raw footage still remaining. Commandos are certainly less damage-spongy than before. Not really a surprise with the new beam, still felt worth mentioning since the only thing the Commandos really have going for them is their sheer durability compared to the other pirate types we've had to kill over the course of the game. And great. Now I'm suddenly remembering the Black Pirates from Super Metroid. Those were quite a pain in the ass to kill in that old game, especially since their very specific weakness wasn't particularly obvious. Or at least it didn't feel all that obvious to me. Damn near back to full health now. Okay, not even heading in the right direction right now. Ah well, we're in no real hurry at the moment, even if I'd like to finish the game and hopefully start working on something with a story I can more eagerly get immersed in. It's been a fun enough ride for the most part. At the very least, I have far less to complain about as we go from clip to clip compared to the other two Metroid Primes, especially as we get closer to the ending. But I still can't help feeling those two games did all too much better than this one. Still not going in the right direction. Or maybe it is the right direction, and my eyes when I'm working on the commentary are looking somewhere different from where my eyes wandered on the map during actual gameplay. After all, it's been a solid amount of time since the last save point, that's for sure. I've got the distinct feeling that ship creature thing just isn't causing any further environmental damage at the moment. I'm pretty sure it's already destroyed all the destructible bits of terrain here to try to inconvenience us, and not really doing that well since, well, we're already so damn mobile. Once again, the enemy gives us better firepower and thinks that's somehow a problem for us. That's not stupid to some degree. It really just feels like I do not like this game from a core design standpoint, since the motion controls and hyper beam are not all that interesting for me. And those are the things that the game was explicitly designed around. It is in some ways far too simplified to make up for how absolutely bullshit Metroid Prime 2 was at times, but even with all my complaints, I still feel like, objectively speaking, this is a better game than Metroid Prime 2. Even if there are several moments across the game where I can't help wishing I was playing that older, more kinda broken game than this thing. It is a good thing that Nintendo isn't taking advice out of design Metroid Prime 4 from me. I'm fairly certain that they'd have a hard time figuring out if I wanted things more simplified or more complicated. Mostly because I kind of want a middle ground that currently doesn't exist, and that's probably very difficult to pull off, at least in terms of puzzle design, if not combat design as well. I can definitely say I preferred the combat in the GameCube games over the Wii, though. It's a combination of preferring the old control scheme and feeling like the enemies were better designed around that control scheme. Even the ones that felt blatantly unfair. The shaky new control scheme for the finale of the trilogy here just wasn't a great idea. In my opinion, when you're making a trilogy of games, you need to try to keep the control scheme as close to what you started off with and then refine from there. Not come up with something entirely new and slap it on top of the foundation for the final act. It just makes it harder for the game designers to get all the combat situations in the game to feel especially great, since they're feeling out what you can and can't do with the different control schemes, and mistakes will be made. But then I suppose Nintendo isn't really all that used to making trilogies. Hell, for most of their franchises, they try to make a single game that will be fun, and even if it's part of a larger series, they will try to make sure you can enter it at any game in that series and still get everything you need to learn in that specific game. They'll just look at what a mess Star Fox became when they tried to have a continuity from 64 to Adventure to Assault to that handheld DS game I currently forgot the name of. Considering how Nintendo usually is, it's just astounding how well the Metroid franchise holds together, with a few very rare outliers that they learned the audience really didn't like. Well, now that we've cleared the landing zone, let's get that ship over here and finally save the game. I'd certainly like to avoid having to repeat the past 25 minutes if I can help it, especially when we're so close to the ending of the game. While there's still a good amount of work to do, the ending is most certainly in sight. We just need to keep on pushing. Great. Now part of me can't help wondering why the ship doesn't have any back legs if they bothered to give it front legs for landing gear. It would certainly spend less fuel than it just using the jets back there to keep itself balanced. I can't really remember if this is the worst ship design in the franchise, but it's certainly the most noticeable to me since we've done so much more with the ship over the course of the game. And now I can't help wondering what more they expected we'd have done with the ship, since I've got the distinct feeling when they started implementing it into this game, they hadn't quite gotten the decision yet what kind of controller they'd have to work with for the Wii. I'm just glad that when they learned it was going to be motion controlled, that they dropped actually having the player pilot this ship. There's just no way that wouldn't have been a train wreck with this control scheme. Right, landed closer to some spots that might need the new Nova Beam. Part of me is tempted to just call it the green laser since it's not something I especially respect in this game. But then, there's a lot of things I don't respect in this game, including how they pulled off Phazon, a very critical story element that's been the main focus of all 3 Metroid primes. Is it just me, or did that not bring the turret down any faster than the plasma beam? I know the commandos go down faster, but the turret somehow feels the same rate. Maybe that's just my imagination. Okay, have to go the other way to reach our objective point. Definitely wish I could look forward to bringing the Federation fleet down to this planet, but again, the battle on Norian didn't exactly fill me with confidence for the kinds of large-scale battles the game designers can pull off here. More X-ray stuff that just requires us to shoot some precision things in the wall. Can this even be called a puzzle by the most generous of measurements? Well, this room looks new, which isn't really a surprise, but it's still kind of welcome. Definitely a lot faster to strip the armor off of pirates now. Not that they felt especially threatened to us before we gained the new gun, but still, take what you can get. Okay, just how are we supposed to insert Phazon energy into that thing anyway? We've kind of got a few different methods, and we've tried a few to no effect here. Right, we've got a short maze, assuming you can call something this simple a maze. And it sounds like we have another upgrade nearby. Ah, now I remember this area. Not that I remember anything about what's in here, or where to go for anything important. Still, I can remember running through this section of tunnels and fighting those little robots, so that's something. Well, we've got some music claiming things are gonna get more desperate here for some reason. Part of me wants to find it interesting that we're fighting some of these pirates in a hallway where there's no real room to maneuver like we usually have. Not that I maneuver much in most of these fights. Tight quarters are a pretty interesting thing in a number of horror-style games, and Metroid had some horror elements in the 2D games. Bit of a shame that the 3D games seem to have a hard time in general feeling especially tense to me. I'm not even sure why that's the case, I just feel more tension with the 2D games in this franchise in general. Maybe it's the faster pace of things, so it's easier to feel moments of going, oh shit, as we desperately try to survive. Maybe because we're allowed to be a bit more reactive. I don't know. Right, another missile upgrade gained. Let's see what else we've got around here. Okay, I wasn't expecting to have to insert energy. Thought we'd be sucking it out from here to get things more. And of course, I set off the alarm again, because I just can't find it in me to care about the enemy responding to our presence. Guess there's nothing outside of a boss encounter that feels like it could be dangerous to us this far in. Seriously, what are we even supposed to be scared of at this point in the game? I have never felt more tanky in this franchise. We can trade blows with a vast majority of enemies and easily come out on top without feeling in any way in danger. No skill required other than just pointing our gun at them and pulling the trigger fast enough to bring them down. That was kind of an issue to a degree with the previous 2 games in the series, but it just feels more prevalent in this one. That's another enemy taken down despite the tight quarters we met him in. Now to get back to figuring out if there's anything else to do around here. Considering how much I'm staying within the same small area as I try to figure things out, maybe I should just start fast-forwarding for my own sanity's sake. Granted, my sanity is a bit of a lost cause, but still. Okay, so we're supposed to go left for our next major objective. Now I just need to figure out how we get there. Right, we've set off the alarm again, which means we're going to be fighting more of the same, which is a good enough excuse to start fast-forwarding. I'm just stumbling around with little to no idea what to do next. Kind of annoying on my part, but hey, if you're going to start sleepwalking, then it makes sense to do so when you're 32 clips in. Can't really find it in me to give a damn that the pirates managed to intercept us out here when I went out of my way to leave the tunnels we set the alarm off in. I'm just wondering why it took me this long into the clip to decide to start fast-forwarding things to avoid me having to deal with a 29-minute clip, especially when we're running through a good amount of territory we've already run through in this game so far. Back in this room and back to trying to figure out what we're supposed to do next. I don't think we climbed upwards here before. We just rolled around and ended up in a different room. It wasn't an especially long bit of fast-forwarding, but I suppose every little bit helps. Again, really feels like I'm just tanking the enemy hits and pouring popcorn on the hurt instead of actually trying to display some skill here. Am I just not giving myself enough credit for getting us this far into the game? Or is there something else that makes us getting this far feel rather underwhelming to me? Because again, of the Metroid games I've gone through, this somehow feels like the least satisfying one overall. Even if it objectively, there are plenty of categories it does outdo Metroid Prime 2. It's definitely a bit of a surprise. I remembered to some degree that I didn't like the control scheme in this game, and I remembered the sheer amount of dislike the Metroid community had for Metroid Prime 2 before Other M came out, but I very much was not expecting Prime 2 to feel like such a drag when we went through it, or for this game to feel so mind-numbing to me once we really got rolling. Right, another alarm has been risen, and we've caught some sections of the main pillar we're going to have to do some X-ray shooting into. As always, I wish I could find it in me to feel enthusiastic as we make another step forward on the way to the end of the game, but I just kind of want the game to end at this point. Okay, who else wants some of this? We've got an infinite supply of the Green Death available here. As usual, not really feeling much of a sense of accomplishment as we slaughter the poor bastards left and right when they're supposed to be the most skilled, well-equipped pirates on the planet. I'm sure the commandos will acquit themselves well when the Federation troops finally start dropping down. Unfortunately, these elite pirates may as well be grunts with the way we've been tearing through them, and it really doesn't help the fact that I kind of want to be done with them already and move on to the next major boss. Music is still playing, and I'm not in any way nervous about dealing with whatever other hostiles are in the room. Why did it feel like a few of that guy's shots deserved to have hit us? Just one more of those things to release, and we can find out what we're going to have to do next. Did I miss something further up, or should we keep going down for the moment? I suppose I should use the next enemy being downward as a marker that that's the general direction we need to go. Yeah, definitely see a third one further down. And with that, we've destroyed all three sections of the pillar. Not that the pillar itself is going to become less stable in any way. Now to get all the way back up. Not difficult by any means, but still annoying. I'm assuming the music is going to keep on playing until we deal with whatever we just unlocked by destroying the three sections of the pillar. I probably would have saved time if I jumped down and started climbing back up from the start of this bit, but again, it's not like there's some timer that's actually giving us a sense of urgency here. I only want to hurry it along because I want to be done with this game in a relatively soonish amount of time. get it activated. And that apparently lowers the shield and brings the Federation down to ground level. Well, it certainly didn't take them long to start blowing things up and get this battle started. I can't really give them points for promptness, though, since it took us so long just to get the shield down after the Admiral first said they arrived over the planet. I was also expecting this to do something to destroy the phazon-protected plant thing down on the bottom. Ah, well, progress is progress.
Outstanding job, Samus. I knew the Federation could count on you.
Probably because the Federation hasn't really done all that much in this franchise other than hire Samus and get into trouble of one kind or another. Now, excuse me for feeling annoyed that he's going to be coming down with the troops, when I doubt he's going to be doing any fighting. If he's not going to personally fight the enemy, then he'd be better off staying in his flagship and coordinating the entire battle. But then I suppose that level of intelligence isn't really worth showing for some reason or another. He just wants to have a dramatic entrance during a dramatic battle, and I can't find it in me to care about either of those. Anyway, may as well save before we try to meet up with the Admiral and see what's next on the agenda. How the hell did I manage to miss this lore entry in this room that we've been able to run through for hours? Sure, it wasn't all that important, but it's still kind of embarrassing. Well, this was clearly written before the pirates became Tax Samus's puppets. Excuse me for preferring when they had some agency of their own instead of just serving an angry ghost that exists at this point just to try to kill Samus, and decided to use some cosmic bullshittery in this game to do so. Dear God, this is making my disrespect to the storytelling back in Metroid Prime 2 feel tame in comparison. I just have no respect at all here. Well, this is as good a stopping point for this clip as any, so I'll just leave that there for now.